Welcome everyone, this is your host Abraham L. Jaguar, a professional game master. First of all, this channel is proudly sponsored by Dead3 Studios, the publishers and developers of Dames of Asstoria, a tabletop role-playing game where you play as monster girls, experiencing high adventure in a world that doesn't fully accept them. They have recently released Daughters of Lamb. This is a pay-what-you-want tabletop RPG where you get to play as cybernetic nuns with guns, looking for the missing pieces of their AI god. You will find it in their website. The link will be in the description and in the pinned comment. This channel is also proudly sponsored by the Red Room Publishing. Please check out their store for exclusive tabletop RPG products and check out their micro red category of games. They are ready to play RPGs with their settings and a streamlined version of the red system. Definitely check it out. You will find the link in the description and in the pinned comment as well. Today, I am continuing my review series featuring Fabula Ultima. Here we go. If you haven't seen the other parts of my review series, featuring this tabletop RPG that potentially represents the sorts of situations that you can experience in Japanese video game RPGs, please check out the playlist in the description below. This time we are going to talk about rewards as well as designing rare items. The rewards section is all about the nuances of handing out rewards, considering the highest level of the player in the party of adventurers of the player character and the number of players in a party, the number of player characters. You have a table to determine the maximum item value that should be awarded based on the highest level of the player character and how large the group is. You don't want to give a reward that is so powerful that the game becomes too boring. The challenges would be severely hampered because of that. And there needs to be a consideration of how frequent the rewards are going to be. It is recommended that only one reward per session, although here it says every 4 or 5 hours of play. Well, yeah, if you, instead of role-playing, you're constantly having conversations about what your character is able to do. You have out-of-character conversations between the players and the game master that do not exist in the fiction. And you're constantly interrupting the game with stories about what your character can or cannot do. Yeah, I think you can end up with a 4 to 5 hour session and perhaps have like minimal roleplay. But no. Don't get another error of this game. Don't get tricked into thinking that you need 4 to 5 hours of time to play a tabletop RPG. As long as you roleplay, you accomplish so much. What you accomplish in 1 hour, other groups need 5 or 6 hours because they're constantly talking about everything else except role-playing the game. You also have details on how to create interesting rewards. This is a mixed bag. You have some good advice on how an item should have like a background to it, especially if it's quite legendary. You could also handle foreshadowing. That is great when they suddenly mention the possibility of obtaining this or that item, and then if you go towards the place mentioned in the legend or in the rumor or whatnot and you find it, that's great. It adds believability to the fictional setting. But then it says, learn what your players want, and if they say that they want a particular item, include that item as a future reward. No. That's very childish. In the many incredible pieces of fiction throughout history, you have characters that had to make do with what was available. And sometimes they were able to obtain a particularly powerful item, but there was foreshadowing. If you encourage this of the player saying, oh boy, I wish I had a shield that is able to shoot lasers out of it. Oh man, I wish I had a hammer that would cause earthquakes. The players are going to treat that out of character conversation as a sort of wish fulfillment game where the game master is Santa Claus and they ask Santa Claus for gifts. So childish. You also have information on how to design rare items. These tips are really good. Just choose an existing rare item and modify it. Or you can even create a rare item from scratch if you wish, with the guidelines here. They tell you how to be careful with the bonuses, how to copy, or rather avoid copying existing spells or skills. You don't want the item to be too common. Make it feel special. You also have details on buying qualities. Perhaps there is a blacksmith or artisan that can add or enchant certain qualities into various weapons, suits of armor, and the like. You also have details on how to... what do you do if you messed up? If you realize an item is much stronger than you had anticipated, do not worry. Resist the temptation to take the item away from the group. You should also avoid simply making the item useless. Instead, talk with the players and explain what you did wrong and adjust the effects of the item together. What a way to ruin the fiction. If they already found, look at the screen. Let's say that they found an uber powerful version of Excalibur, like a super powered deity-like version of Excalibur. You can actually handle that through roleplay. As I always say, roleplay solves everything. It's perfectly permissible if suddenly maybe the item loses its power for whatever reason because of a strange magical miasma that made its way across the zone you were in related to the greater plotline, etc. Or maybe it took a toll. The item was so powerful it took a toll on the player character and he had to use all of his willpower to stop the item from absorbing his soul or something. But the clash, the struggle, nerfed the item, you see. And that adds to the world building. Telling you. For those of you that do not know, I consider both Fabula Ultima and the Walking Dead universe tabletop RPG to be the worst role-playing rules available. Not mechanically speaking, the mechanics are decent if not good. But the roleplay explanations, they are abysmal. I am about to be 43 years old this month of July. And in all of my life, I had never seen such abysmal roleplay rules. They're terrible. You also have details on how to design rare weapons. Like, for example, you choose an existing basic weapon, like I said, and then you factor in the physical damage that is dealt. If you want to add another type of damage like air, bolt, fire, ice, etc., then you increase the cost of the item. After all, those items could be purchased or even crafted, so you need to take that into consideration. You also consider other changes. For example, if the weapon is a two-handed weapon, you may turn it into a one-handed weapon, but by reducing the damage by a particular amount. You could perhaps increase the weapon's damage by an amount, but it also increases the cost. You can also modify the bonus to accuracy check and so forth. And at the end, you can even give the weapon a single quality chosen from a list. Maybe the weapon has the resistance quality. You have resistance to a single damage type. Maybe you have an offensive quality such as piercing. Damage dealt by the weapon ignores resistances. And you have many examples of rare weapons and items, such as the Necronomicon, the Ars Goetia, the Cul de Gul, the Dragon Trap Bow, the Gatling Crossbow, the Bear Paw, the God Hand, the Atom Slicer, the Comet Gun, the Spell Shot, the Dominatrix Whip, the Nunchaku, the Mjolnir, you have Mjolnir here, Thor's Hammer, Excalibur, Gungnir, you have the Chakram, the Boomerang, the Hive Dart, the Crescent Edge, kind of like a throwing weapon, throwing axes. So you have so many weapons, and you even have details on how to make them a bit more rare. Concerning protective gear, you have suits of armor, such as the maid uniform. Of course, it's magical. When a potion or Magi Sphere created with your inventory points restore mind points, you restore extra mind points. You also have the Crystal Plate with resistance to dark magic. Or dark damage, rather. There are some very funny vests here, like the Granny Vest. Or the Automaton Suit. That sounds awesome. A bit like power armor. And the Black Belt for the martial artists. You also have shields, such as the Aegis Terra, the Seraph Shield, the Adamant Tower. You also have details on accessories with pendants with various resistances to fire, ice, poison. You have gloves, rings. Some of them I give you a boost in checks concerning insight and the willpower. You could also, when you, for example, there is a ring. I'm going to avoid spoilers, not mentioning the name, because I think it's a good ring to be found as part of a quest. When you roll a critical success, you may spend that opportunity to gain 1 Fabula point. And this concludes this part of the review series. In the next part, we are going to talk about artifacts and designing battles. This section is a bit of a mixed bag, but luckily it has more good things than bad. Terrible ways of handling the roleplay situations, like, if you messed it up and you gave them an item that is too powerful, just retcon the entire thing. No, handle it through roleplay, no problem. Or the thing like, if the players express their desire to obtain a weapon, give it to them. Like, what are you, like a genie? Your wish is my command. Here it is. No. Have them work for it. If they are looking for a gunblade, Final Fantasy VIII, there is a gunblade here. Have them search for someone that can build or fashion such an item. Or have them do research to see if they can find an item like that somewhere. But yeah, but everything else is good. Just those, as always, Fabula Ultima failing in terms of roleplay. Thank you for watching this part of the review series. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And thank you so much to those of you that are going the extra mile to support the channel. If anyone else wishes to further support the channel, consider joining as a member using the Super Thanks button. Take a look at the information in the description and in the pinned comment. This has been your host, Abraham L. Jaguar, a professional game master. And remember, roleplay solves everything. Once again, thank you and see you later.